So there was a turtle, and he was crossing the street, right? And of course, as a driver, you don't want to be the person to run over a turtle. It's not good for your tires. Um, and as I was driving, I pulled over, and I noticed a turtle trying to go up the curb, but it had some paper in its mouth. And it was Taco Bell wrapper, like a Taco Bell taco wrapper, pretty flimsy, probably not great for the environment, but you know what, it is what it is. And as I went there to try to take it out of its mouth, I ended up taking it out of its mouth, and all of a sudden it got a little scared. It started going back into its shell, started getting very protective of itself. And my conclusion for that is, I'm assuming he was shell shocked. Welcome to episode 26 of the Off and Beat podcast. I'm your host, Clint. And welcome to the Friday pod. It is 4 a.m. It just turned 4 a.m. on Friday morning, and this will be up for you guys on Friday. I'm gonna be honest. I really don't feel like doing this. And if I don't feel like doing this, I don't mean like not wanting to do the pod because I don't want to do the pod. I just really haven't been myself. Really in a long time, but I've been pushing through to try to get myself out of this lull of my personal life. And I was literally laying in my bed for a couple hours, doing absolutely nothing tonight. Got home around 1 a.m. and I was really just trying to fall asleep so I can make an excuse to myself that I fell asleep and I wouldn't have to do this, and maybe I'll feel like it in the morning or the afternoon. Maybe not even do it tomorrow at all, but I think I couldn't fall asleep because in the back of my head, or really probably the front of my head, I knew my responsibilities, my personal accountability responsibilities, is no one getting harmed if I don't do this. Like, no one's relying on me to pay their bills if I don't do this or nothing. But I've been holding myself to stay consistent, keep going, and stuff like that. Even though I've enjoyed every single one I've done to this, and I do this, like, I have more just a hard time finding time to do it more than not wanting to do it. There's not a single time I haven't wanted to do it. But tonight was a little different. For the first time, I was not really looking forward to doing it. I wasn't, having ideas go through my head of what to do in today's pod or nothing. And I'm just going to come out and say it. I'm really struggling as a person. Not to get too serious, but I do feel maybe I want to use this episode to help you guys truly get to know me and my struggles. What's funny? I promised myself I would never, this podcast is just supposed to be, in a sense, nonsense, but somewhat informational, opinionated, fun, corny, joking, ranting. That's really the soul of this pod. And I really feel like I've held my end of the bargain for people that have kept on listening. And I guess I kind of want to be, I'm not going to pretend to be in that mood today, because I'm not. I'm really not. Wow. It's going to be really, pretty sure if you turn on this pod for some excitement, you're highly disappointed. Let me make you sad. Let me sadden up your day. But no, it's not even about being sad. I'm not sad. It's almost like Um, it's almost quite the opposite. Don't really have much of a feeling a lot of times. Um, I'm I don't wake up excited and I don't fall asleep sad, depressed or nothing because I'm not. I'm not depressed. I'm not sad. I'm just not feeling alive per se, right? I struggle with a lot of lulls in my life, really. Um, Trying to figure out what direction I want to go with this, to be honest, because I don't know how much of myself I want to put out there. That's something I really struggle with. I really have a lot of reparations about that. I don't even know if that's the right word, but I have a lot of tribulations. Maybe that's the right fucking word. But I did make a video on my channel recently that was just a video I did for the channel, and it was about my loneliness, right? And the video's not literally about, oh my god, I'm so lonely. It's literally about how my actions and my personality and my behaviors that I have caused on myself or that I have developed myself over the really my whole life, but I'll just say specifically the past 5-6 years of my life. The reason why I have this loneliness to me and this isolation to myself is because I've set my life up to be as such. Um, can't really blame anyone but myself. And by blaming, I don't mean like it's a bad thing, but it's certainly not. For some reason, I'm not happy with it, right? How much can you be unhappy with yourself if that's who you are? Or do you feel like you could be better and you just kind of accept the aspects of yourself just to justify to yourself why you are the way you are? And um, there's even a lot of personal friends that don't really know how I was growing up. Um, Growing up, I used to be on a lot of antidepressants. I used to be on bipolar medication. I used to be on 3 or 4 medicines at a time because I had anger issues. I used to be on medicine because literally for antidepressant. And I guess I don't think I haven't taken any medicine probably in the past 8-9 years of my life. And the difference between me now, if I feel these things, than then is that I have control of myself and I can identify the things I feel. The misnomer is that these things will always stay with you in life. If you struggle with something at the age of 16, it's always going to be wired inside of you. And like depression, to me at this point, I don't really have like depressing days or nothing. I have very specific moments that trigger depression for it could be just for an hour or whatever. It could be something that reminds me of something and something that makes me feel less of myself. And it can make me depressed for a short period of time, but I'm able to identify that and be able to direct my feelings or my emotions in the right way. That's the difference between learning how to deal with your shit and just relying on medication to solve it. One of the reasons why I stopped taking medication is for the simple fact that the side effects of these motherfuckers are no joke. Gained a lot of weight on that shit. The second I got off this shit is when I got in the greatest shape of my life. I wasn't always tired. I didn't feel like complete sadness all the time. The irony of antidepressants is all it does, it's almost like what it does is it makes you, yeah, you're not depressed as often because you're not even literally awake enough to be not depressed. And anyone that's ever been on medications for that type of stuff understands that it's not a magic pill that makes you happy. It suppresses the quote unquote sadness or depression within yourself from a biological standpoint. But by default, if you're on that shit too long, it fucks up your biological over the long period of time. But I don't really want to get into all that. But yes, I was on bipolar medication. And although I think my bipolar is controlled for the most part, um, nowadays it's less about, back then it was more about anger and sadness, like physical anger, never directly towards people, but I would break controllers. I literally would punch walls. I would hurt myself and I'll always punch my knee. That was the biggest thing. I used to punch my fucking thigh. People are like, man, you got big quads and thighs. You must be hitting the leg presses. It's like, oh yeah, I be pressing these knuckles against my leg and it swells up and call it muscle. Oh, when you could find the humor in your own shit, it's amazing. But that shit, man, it changes. It literally changes how you operate. And now that as I've gotten older and off the medication, I really hit a good place like 4 or 5 years ago when I was not on medication. I truly felt like I solved it. And I was in a great shape. I was confident with myself. I was fairly happy most of the time. Like, I really felt like for the first time in my life, I felt normal, right? I felt like a balanced person. I had confidence enough to be myself and, make friends in a lot of ways, talk to girls in a confident way that actually felt genuine. Like, I felt like at least I was starting to figure out life, right? And over time, for a lot of various reasons I'm not going to get into, a lot of that has not only regressed below the means, there's parts about myself that I feel are a lot worse than that 13, 14, 15-year-old self when I was just an out of control child, in a sense. And over the past year and a half, I have just not been myself. And by not been myself, I literally mean I don't have that motivation to be the best parts of myself, right? And from a physical, from a driven standpoint in a lot of ways, it's not that. The worst part is when you know what you need to do to fix the things about yourself, and when you know the work it takes because you have accomplished that yourself. So the worst part, it's very hard to convince someone or to teach someone how to accomplish a feat that they've never even done something resemblant before. But when you know what you need to do because you have accomplished that before and then some, and you just got to redo it and start from scratch again. It's a scary place because when you're starting from scratch again, you're going to go through the struggles that remind you of you have let yourself go as a person to the point where you're going to have this self-hatred towards yourself. You're going to have a lot of self-doubt. And you're going to start feeling worse about yourself when you start from scratch because you're like, how did I let myself get to this point? Why? What went wrong along the way that I have to restart and get myself completely right again? And that is something I have struggled with over the past year and a half. Is I've let myself go not only physically. I genuinely, it's not that I don't care for myself, because this is not a PSA for help. No, it's a genuine transparency of my personal struggles and how I am so aware of it that it can be very hard to justify to other people why my struggle is my struggle. And I struggle with a lot of things for various reasons, right? Um, and at the end of the day, I can't, again, it's accountability. So one thing I say, again, one of the greatest qualities of me is that I take accountability for all my shit. But you could take accountability for all your shit and it doesn't mean anything. All it means is that you are deemed better to people that you explain your problems to, and then they have hope for you that you don't even really have hope for yourself about. It just gives you a brief moment of optimism, but it's a start. Without taking accountability, even if you do the things you need to do to change, the sole problem is still going to be the problem. Because you can lie to everyone else, but you cannot lie to yourself over time. You lie for a brief period of time, but in the back of your head, you know when you're lying to yourself, and everything will regress back to the mean. So you do have to take accountability at the start. But you can take all the accountability in the world, and it doesn't make you necessarily feel this instant fire to get it right. And the thing is, I don't know what I feel on a lot of days. I feel one of the worst things you could kind of feel when it comes to struggling with everyday life. And the thing is, my thing is, it has, typically when people my age have struggles with this stuff, it has to do with they're not where they want to be in life. And honestly, I can't say that because I'm fairly happy with my financial security. I'm fairly happy doing things I enjoy, like this podcast. I like how I make time for things I actually genuinely enjoy, that are actually my passions and my interests. I actually have hobbies, like, but I struggle. But sometimes I think, do I do these things as a distraction, right? Attractions can become distractions and vice versa. Everything can be good and ends up bad. You get where I'm getting at with this. And I do wonder at times, am I doing this as a distraction to give me more excuses to not focus on shit I really need to focus on for myself? Because reality is, I can incorporate the time to get my personal life together, my health and fitness, my ability to actually make friends, my ability to actually go out and actually date and venture. But there's a combination of me. Most of the time, I don't think I want friendships like that, right? I know that's a heavy contradiction. Like, I don't care to put myself out there. I don't care to go above and beyond to share common interests with people. That feels like just a tedious, like, I feel like I want to meet someone naturally type of shit. But at the same time, I do want that. It's this heavy conundrum of myself. I understand everyone has contradictions and conundrums that they argue with themselves about this stuff, right? And I'm so worried that I'm going to become so socially distant from my peers and potentially at least people my age range to actually have genuine connections with, to actually go through life with, in a sense that I don't know if what I'm doing is actually best for my interests in the short or mid long term. What I'm doing in this podcast is definitely good for me in the long term because it's what I want to do. but is putting so much time, am I putting so much time and effort, the volume of podcasts I've done, the volume of making videos and all this other stuff I do, is it just for a huge distraction to have an excuse to not get better at these other aspects in my life? I do think about that. And we always hear, and look, I'm all about working hard because I do. I'm all about rise and grind, even though I think a lot of that shit's corny. But the message is, if you want something, you have to go get it. You're going to have to wake up early, stay later. You have to, in order to get shit done, you have to spend the time to get shit done. Trust me, I get that just as much as anyone, as someone that does apply that to their life. But am I getting lost in the world? Am I getting lost in a world just to justify my not being as well-rounded as it could be? At the end of the day, like, I can't complain about nothing. And none of this podcast is complaining. It's explaining closer to who I am as a person. A lot of my friends don't even know shit I struggle with, because when they ask me for advice, I tell them simply, get over it. And in a lot of simpler terms, for most things, it's like, you're overreacting, you're overthinking it. You got to move past stuff. You got to let go of the past. You got to stop thinking about this girl. You got to stop worrying about everything you've done wrong in the past couple years, and you got to forgive yourself so you can move forward, like all that, But I'm one of those that gives all the great advice, but never ask for it myself. And I never actually apply to it myself. Is it a sense of too much pride? I guess. I'm very sympathetic towards a lot of people that struggle with things. But always, at the same time, I try to keep my struggles in perspective. Because my struggles are very, very nothing in the great perspective. The struggles I have show that I am doing a lot of good things in my life, right? Like, the struggles I don't have no drug addiction. I haven't drinking alcohol in over a year. I don't do any drugs in general. I don't have any substance of any type issues. My issues are literally confusion. I'm confused with what I feel a lot. It's hard for me to actually get in touch with myself. Not to be too fucking corny. But I think I feel like one of the worst, when you get to certain stages in your life, one of the worst rabbit hole routines is when you start feeling indifference. Because instead of waking up, putting myself in uncomfortable situations, going to work out, exercising, putting myself through these tedious activities that are going to make me not only stronger and not only going to make me healthier, but they're going to just make me feel good. And I know that. I know just by going on the treadmill for 30 minutes, it's going to suck. I know that forcing myself to do an hour workout, it's going to suck. But then 3 hours after the workout, I'm going to be breathing great. I'm going to be consuming drinks and consuming a shitload of water, be eating a good chicken and rice, and I'm going to feel fucking great. But I make a conscious effort to avoid it. I've avoided discomfort. It seems like I go through my day avoiding discomfort more than actually trying to get better about myself. And when you start getting where that becomes a pattern of behavior, like over a year and a half, where you're just trying to avoid discomfort to not cause any ripple effect in your day, you don't have those great days, but you also just don't really have those bad ones. Every day's just kind of the same. And there's a lot of people that would pray to have a consistent type of steady day, because that means they have stability. It sounds like you have stability, but having stability without putting yourself in positions for potential instability, you're not really, pushing yourself. You're not really actually, um, not actually testing yourself in a lot of ways. You're trying to avoid something because it makes you uncomfortable. It's going to make you feel less than. And as a man, it's going to just make you feel less masculine in a lot of ways, to be straightforward about it. Because you're not, let's just say if we're talking about working out, you're not the same strength you used to. How do you deal with that? How do you try to, I could do this, but I'm trying to avoid injury, this, my leg, and you make all these fucking excuses to yourself. And then you've gone 2 weeks and your legs feel like brittle. Your knees start hurting. You can't breathe. You treat people at work like you just don't talk to anyone at work. I think an issue I'm having right now is that I try, you know, I don't feel a need to actually say hello. Like a big flaw of mine, I still do to this day, or don't do it, I should say. I don't say hello to people when they come into work to start out. I don't say hello to people I know on a daily basis. I just look at them and, whatever. I don't greet people. I don't say goodbye. It feels weird. I don't know why that is. It just feels weird. And it's uncomfortable to say hello to someone for me. Kind of goes back into the social issues I have sometimes. I share this today. I guess I'm sharing this because I think people need to understand that people find ways to mask their struggles in a lot of ways. And you got to be very careful thinking that all struggles are so apparent. That it means someone's got to be in the highest of highs or the lowest of lows. They got to either be sad, they got to be mad, they got to be crying, you can see someone's down on themselves. Like, if you were to sit by me for a week and you were like one of those journalists trying to do a profile about me, you would not know that anything's really wrong with me. Like, in the sense of, you would never think I'm sad, you would never think I'm depressed, because I'm not. But you wouldn't see all the mental hell that I feel with myself. And I'm not in the business of bitching about stuff. Like, when people complain to me about the problems, like I've been doing for the past 27 minutes, I really just start to get annoyed. I really do. Because when I hear people complain about, oh, my mom, this, my job, I hate it, I'm just like, why continue doing something you hate? That's the part I don't get. And the one thing, I don't do things I don't like. And at the same time, there's some things I don't like that I should probably start doing. Because, they help you out. I think I've kind of entered into this phase of my life where I'm pretty... It's this weird confusion. And it's not the typical confusion of job, this and that and the other. Like, that stuff, I've got my plan, my mental plan and all that for my vision. But what's troubling about it that I think about to myself is, why do I want to have the plan I have, Am I doing this for attention? I don't think I am, but maybe there's a part of me that secretly just wants someone to say, hey man, I like that one joke you made 4 minutes into your pod. It made my day, like that type of impact. I don't know. I don't think it is, because I don't feel, as of right now, I don't feel bad or nothing when people don't watch or nothing. But is that like my destination? Once I get that, then I'm not going to have the desire for it? I don't know. Is doing open mics and stand up, even though I enjoy it and it's fun and it's nice to work on stuff, like, am I doing that just to be kind of seen by the world? Or am I doing it because I actually want to put my life into that? I don't know. I think it's for the purest reasons. But is there any part of me that's very cynical? It's very materialistic? Probably. There's probably some craving of validation. I think everyone has craving of validation of some aspect. No one wants to go around and no one ever acknowledge when they do something and say it's good. I think that's, of course, not right. I just wonder, is my personal struggle, does it really is it really something that's irreversible? Of course it is. All it takes is me to get out of my fucking head, stop being lazy about some shit. Um but or is this just kind of who I am? Am I this socially awkward person that's not even the it's not even the cute socially awkward. Like, it's legitimately the type of awkward where one interaction and you may not come back to the table where I'm at. Like, if we're just chilling at a coffee shop and there's a group of people, I may say one thing misguided and you get a little uncomfortable and you just like gradually, oh, I'm going to go to the bathroom. And then you just, when you get out of the bathroom, you just sit at a table on the other side of the coffee shop gradually. And you just leave your drink over there and not come back and get it. And just pretend it's cool. You just order another drink because it's better than the awkward interaction of me seeing that you don't want your drink no more. Yeah. Maybe so. But I think a lot of people can relate to this in a weird way because I'm just a guy with a regular job. I'm just a guy who has very similar issues as probably a lot of people that you would consider insane. People that you would, you know, cringe about. People that you would probably make fun if you saw videos of them having meltdowns on TikTok or Snapchat. And that was me at 13 or 14. Would I ever have one of those meltdowns? No, not today. But people would probably be surprised at the personal, um, my personal interactions with myself. It's not something that a 25-year-old should be having interactions with himself about, but it's controlled. I'm very good at directing my anger to me and not to anyone else when it's not needed. Like, I've always just kind of, people, you can get a bad rap for blaming yourself. You don't want to blame yourself for everything, but to me, it's better to blame yourself and hold yourself accountable than to blame other people, because then you fall into really bad habits of just blaming other people for your shit. And I think that's a very immature, it's entitlement. And the sad part is when you get older and you see 35, 40-year-old people with that entitlement type of shit and blame a lot of other things other than their decisions in their life for that, it really makes you at least feel a little bit better about yourself when you're not that way. It's better to take accountability even when it's not your situation to take accountability for and move forward and move on than to not take accountability for essentially anything, because you can always justify for why you did X or why you did Y. Like, I just I know this is probably the most boring fucking audio or vid anyone's ever fucking watched, but this is the type of mood I'm in. Like, I just feel like in this confessional mood because it's so much cheaper than going to Dr. Dudley and paying fucking $300 a fucking session, even with medical insurance. Jesus Christ. And it's almost like I have this helpless feeling. Like, I do feel like I've been trying to internally fix this myself. That I am so afraid to reach out for help on this. Like, I'm like, I'm even afraid of someone I talk to on a weekly basis, and we talk about simply a bunch of just internet bullshit, and we have fun with it. And even someone with like him, who I feel comfortable speaking a lot of personal things with, I don't really feel comfortable complaining about my life, because it's not really anything to complain about at the end of the day. At least I feel as such. I don't know if it's just me, quote unquote, convince myself you're not complaining because you have good perspective, Clint. Or is it I'm not complaining because maybe if I were to say it, whatever it is, I would be told that you need to like work on that. Whatever it is. And the process of working on something is hard when it's with yourself. And to seek outside help is really, it's almost like the answers you're going to be told, right? You know what they're going to tell you. They're going to tell you you just need to move on, you need to move forward, you need to find a way to cope with your shit. And it's like, yeah, I heard that shit all my young adolescent teens when I went to all these psychiatrists and whatever, man. And that shit, man, as great of a service as it is, and I'm like, obviously, I'm not going to sit here and shit on psychiatrists, psychologists, and shit like that. But what I will say from my personal experience is that it's basically a waste of time when you're doing that and on medicines if the individual doesn't really have the self-control, doesn't develop that themselves at some point. And that's why I was able to get to going through being on antidepressants, lithium, Risperdal, fucking Depakote. And some of them were antidepressants, some of them were bipolar shit. And the only reason why I'm comfortable sharing that is because I haven't been on that shit for 7 or 8 years. People I work with, people who I know in my personal life would never know I bipolar. I don't even know if I could technically say I have it anymore, even though I do have personal like episodes to myself. But they're typically self-deprecating. They're never out. They're never taken out on anyone else. And that could be a problem even when some should be taken out on someone else. But you have programmed yourself enough where it's better to take the blame than to put your blame on someone else. Even if in the moment you don't know who should be directed. Your episode, anger, or sadness. The thing about bipolar that's really weird is that when you get angry, you have a problem. But when the average person gets angry over the same shit, they're just angry. When you are having sad moments in your life, oh, it's because he's a little crazy. He's bipolar. His wiring's just not right. But if someone else is sad, they must be really going through something. If you have relationship issues with someone because your emotions go up and down, regardless of what someone did to make your emotions go up and down. You're the one that either needs to get it right, go therapy, start getting on medicine to fix your marriage or your relationship. But someone else does it, and you just need to have better communication. It's these weird stigmas that we put on people with certain conditions. That's why when I hear people, that's why I always roll my eyes when people talk about, we care about mental health. It's like, no, you don't. A lot of you don't really struggle with anything mental health wise. And I'm not even saying I do at this point in my life. But as someone that has dealt with it, someone that has actually dealt and actually had to learn how to manage this shit. That's why when I see people like have sympathy for people that murder people because they're psychotic, or people that rape kid or molest kids because they'll be like, well, you gotta understand. Could you imagine if you were attracted to young children? It's like, um, just because you have conditions doesn't mean you shouldn't be held to your actions. You don't get a free pass just because you have fucking mental issues or just because you have behavioral issues. There's a lot of that shit irks the fuck out of me because you need to be held accountable for your actions. So you are basically forced to either get it right or you will not be a part of society. And now that I think about it, I think a lot of my social issues and my issues of connecting with people has to do with the fact that maybe I kind of got a later start on um, being normal enough to feel comfortable around people. And by the time I got around people, people already mastered or at least were comfortable in social settings from a younger age. And when I got there, it was like learning how to walk. But while I was learning how to walk, people were breaking Sha'Carri Richardson type of 100-meter records and Usain Bolt records. While I'm over here just trying to stand on 2 feet when it comes to social interactions. And I think the biggest thing that when you have like quote unquote disorders or you have issues of some sort, it sets you back in the most basic of areas in life to be socially acceptable. Then you have to hide your disorders. You have to hide things about yourself so you're not perceived a certain way. But then when people interact with you and you hide those aspects of yourself, but then the things that you're socially not strong in, then they just think that there's no context to why you are the way you are. And it can be I think that's kind of the issue with me, and I think a lot of people can relate to that in a lot of ways. Because you're always taught your disorder. I remember growing up, it wasn't that my mom or dad, it's not that they tried everything they could to make it better. They really did. They paid out of pocket for all those therapy sessions. I used to 2 days a week. I had an excuse to not be at school till like 9 or 10 a.m., 2 hours after school started because I would have my appointment. And my appointments. Mom would wake up extra early just to make sure, because I think she was generally worried I would not survive in society. And luckily, I was able to at least figure it out to become a productive member of society, and not only be a productive member, but actually have an ambition to be something more than just a productive member, just to fit in. Like, I embrace the aspects that are myself because it benefits me in a lot of ways. But at the same time, I understand that the things that also benefits you, by default, there's going to be downsides to it. And like anything in life, there's good and bad to everything. Again, it's a trade-off. But sometimes I just wish the negative aspects of the trade-off was just a little less shitty. Like, and I don't know. This is probably the realest shit I'll ever put out, and it'll probably be the last podcast I ever do of this serious in nature about myself. Next episode, I'll be back to, bitching about Harry style, not Harry fucking style, Prince fucking Harry and Meghan Markle getting a fucking ribbon for having 2 fucking kids, and only having 2 kids because they're caring about the environment and carbon emissions more. Because, having a 3rd kid is going to be the difference between the greenhouse effect and full effect or not. So anyone that has over 2 kids, I guess you're a piece of shit. You don't care about the environment, or, you don't care about keeping population alive. They're preventing overpopulation for literally doing fucking nothing. But whatever. They get awards for doing the most common thing that's ever been done in fucking history, and that's having kids. It's literally the most common thing that's ever happened. But whatever. That'll be for another show. But yeah. I think I realize I haven't looked in the camera for most of this fucking either. Jesus fucking Christ. This is probably dragged out. Probably something that could have been said in 12 minutes, but I dragged out to 45. I just hope that this podcast, it can at least help someone understand that someone that you can think is entertaining, fun. I have gotten private messages of people having enjoying these shows, to be honest. That's kind of a great feeling. It's kind of a great feeling to at least feel like being myself actually has good dividends. There are people that actually enjoy what I do or what I have done this far. But yeah, I guess I'll just summarize this. Like, when I wake up on a regular day, and I think a lot of people can relate to this. I'm not enthusiastic to get out of bed, but I'm not hating getting out of bed either. Sometimes I'll just keep laying in bed a couple hours after I wake up just because I don't know what to do. I don't know really what I want to do that day. And it's a very troubling feeling to myself because I know that's not a way to get your goals done or get the shit you say you want done. I know. And if I was speaking to my boy Jeffrey, he'd be like, bro, you just need to get in the gym. You just need to run. You just need to lift weights. And I'm like, yeah, I know. Trust me, I know. And that's the worst part is I know. And I can't find the desire for something other than just that. Because I noticed my thought pattern when it came to working out, exercising in sports. There had to be a reason beyond myself why I was doing something. And I think what I'm realizing is I'm chasing something to have a purpose beyond myself. Like if you have a kid, that gives you a reason beyond yourself, or if you just have something that's literally beyond just your self-interest. And I think I've lived for my self-interest long enough where it's almost like I'm just begging for something to give me that push that I'm waiting for. And I know it's probably not going to come. I just have to create that push myself. And it sounds corny as fuck, but I need to push myself up and pull myself up and just get after it. Stop being a fucking pussy. And not even just working out. Obviously, that's like kind of one of the things I'm talking about, but a lot of things. I think the thing it's not even about trying to chase after what I used to be. It's honestly trying to be a more realistic, better version of my life now and what I want. And I struggle with all over. I can eat well, but then I go to the gym, don't feel it. Like, it's almost like I'm I don't expect perfection from myself. And that's the crazy part. I'm not a perfectionist. I'm not one of those that weighs out my food. I'm not one of those that writes down my sets and shit. I'm like, when I go to gym, I just go and I just fucking bust it. But when I don't have the desire to bust it, I don't go. Because I will not go to the gym and do a half-ass job. But it's better to consistently go to the gym and do a half-ass job than to not go for 4 months. Tell you that much. But to any of my friends that are listening to this, everyone, I'm okay. This is not a sad pod. If you haven't picked up that, this is not a sad. This is not a cry for help. This is me being transparent of people that may interact with me or people that may be introduced to this channel of who I am in a sense, like why I kind of am the way I am. And I could be very, look, I joke around a lot on this channel, right? I rant about nonsense. I rant about at a Culver's burger place, some dude fucking on the phone for 5 minutes because he didn't ask what his girlfriend wanted, and she's figuring out he's telling her the menu being a fucking bitch. Like, I make jokes about that shit. And that did happen, by the way. All the shit happens. But, there's probably some deep-rooted issues with me with that shit. Like, why am I mad at some fucking dude who's just trying to make sure he gets his girlfriend's meal right? Well, I could tell you why. Because I fucking hate people that are inconsiderate of other people's times. You're not the focal point of the fucking world. And that's something I had to learn. Like, your issues is not the focal part of everyone else's issues. And even now, when I talk about this stuff, I have that knowledge and mindset. But for some reason, I have a need or a feeling to tell someone. And maybe it's for me to feel more relatable. So when people listen to my shit, they know, like, I'm a real person. I'm not this cold, callous person that probably seems a bit critical at times and shit. And I'm not critical, really, but I just say my opinion and whatever. Like, but I have struggles, as we all do. And struggles has a lot of different looks to it. My struggle is a lot better than most people on this earth. And I say that, like, with all humbleness. Like, I don't compare to what I was when I was 13, 14, 15 to today. Like, my mom could tell you, my dad would tell you, it's night and day. Like, and I'm happy of the progress I made, but I feel like in the past year I've taken a lot of steps back from where I feel I should be at this point in my life. Like, I was on a really good progression, and something happened, and it just fucked me up. And I take accountability and responsibility for being weak and letting that affect me the way it did. You sit here, anything can happen to you in life. But if in order to overcome things that you were weak in the moment and failed at in the moment of reacting to it the way you should at your age, and it broke me. And it completely put me in a down spiral, which put my health in a down spiral because I was not just not taking care of myself. I was drinking every single night for like 7, 8 months. It was depressing. Well, maybe not 7, probably like 5, 6, but it felt like 7 or 8. Like, I've never drinking. I've never bought alcohol before. Like, I never bought alcohol with my own money. I only drink alcohol at parties and whatever not. But when I noticed when I would literally drink alcohol, I got to a point where obviously my tolerance went way up. And on top of that, I started getting marks on my body because I completely drank so much that little blood vessels started showing my stomach, which are still there to this day. I I'm so fortunate that my liver never gave out, or kidney, whatever the fuck. I gained, by default, you gain decent amount of weight. My breathing was terrible. My headaches, I was barely alive for 4 or 5 months. Like, I would literally just be going through the day just trying to recover from the previous night of lonesome drinking, and then get home and repeat it. And then I would eat a bunch of bad food by default because, of course, it's what you do when you drink. And I literally, the only days I would not drink, this is how bad it got. The only days I would not drink is because I literally would fall asleep before I had the opportunity to drink when I come home. It would literally just be a day to recover. Now I get right back on the wagon. I did the math based on the alcohol I was buying, right? Drinking 5, 6 days a week, 20, $30 a pop. That's $150 a month. Well, shit, no, more than $150 a week. No, probably like $100 a week. So I did the math, 400, 800, 1200. I spent probably $3,000 over 6 months on alcohol. That's how down on my life I got. And I don't even like to say I was an alcoholic because when I think alcoholic, I think of people that struggle for years and years. And the worst part is I didn't even have the desire to quote unquote drink alcohol. Like, I never got that addiction. It became more of this routine. It became more of this habit. It became of this escape to escape the sadness I was feeling. And it became an excuse to not take care of myself. It just became an excuse. If you're waiting for me to do some pep rally type of shit to tell you, this is why, nah, I'm not that guy in general. But this is real. I was a person who was lost, beyond lost. I was a person, and the thing is, it's been over a year, right? I've not drinking a single drop of alcohol in over a year. I am still paying the prices on my body for those 6 months. If that is for any measure out there, is that it takes you twice as long to fix. It will take you twice or 3 times as long to fix the problem that you caused it yourself than it did to actually have that problem happen. Like, I don't know how long it will take for me to recover and get my life, because what people don't realize about when you are caught in those cycles is that I couldn't even quit cold turkey because of the amount, the shaking, the blood flow issues I was having in my whole body. My heart would tighten up, my chest, my back, my stomach felt like shit. I only threw up a few times because my body doesn't throw up well, so literally everything just stayed in my stomach, and that shit fucking hurt. What people don't realize is that when you have done it for so consistently over a period of time. The mass I was drinking, right? I had no plans of sharing this, by the way, but fuck it. Um, it's not one of those things that you just can stop cold turkey without having severe, potentially severe, what are they called? Mm, Not seizures, but withdrawals. I probably could have had a seizure. Um, you know, it's very possible with my asthma and shit. It could have been possible, but very fortunate that didn't happen. Um, but I literally felt sick for like a month and a half after I was able to completely stop. For like literally 3 or 4 days, I had to lower it, lower it, lower it. I looked up videos to make sure I do it the right way. And I did it all myself. I didn't seek therapy. I didn't, you know, because I always feel like if I cause myself a huge issue, right? It's not someone else's responsibility, even if it is someone who's literally paid to fix that responsibility. To me, I feel like it's much stronger if you're able to try to get it right yourself. And it's a much harder journey. I would say I didn't even feel normal from a health standpoint for at least 2 or 3 months after I was able to get off, to be pretty honest about it. It was probably around Christmas when I started feeling at least okay, you know. I remember it. And even then, like I just still wasn't great, but my body was all out of whack and everything. But I at least felt like I have a chance. Like my body's at least feeling like a chance, and I've been kind of stuck in that place since. But man, and I never thought I would have a drinking problem or any type of substance issue since I don't fall into peer pressure. But that's the sad part. I told myself I would never drink by myself. I told myself that I would never be that guy, because to me that's sad and pathetic. And yet, guess what I did? It was sad and pathetic. And that's the way I looked through that period of time. People that interact with me, I probably had videos, drunk videos I sent to personal friends on Snapchat and shit, saying dumb shit, whatever. And it's a sense of embarrassment of myself, but it's one of those things where I'm embarrassed, but I don't deny that it happened. I was going through a rough time in my life, and at the same time when I was going through a rough time, this opportunity came up that I can't really talk about. It was a great opportunity, and I was struggling with my alcohol issue, and I was potentially going to get paid to write a movie type of shit. And, that's still an off and on thing and a weird thing, but it's weird how all that happened at the same fucking time. And man, like, Jesus, I feel like a fucking idiot. Because the weird thing, I didn't blow the opportunity. I somehow found a way to have a legitimate chance at that and still have a legitimate shot at making something like that happen. But I just think about, man, what if I was in that perfect mindset that I was in 3 or 4 years ago and the opportunity came up? Who knows, like, what the fuck I could have created. But I was so self-destructive and I got caught in this routine. And I have no one to blame but myself for it. No one made me go to the store to buy alcohol. No one made me do anything. It was because I was escaping something. And something I still struggle with this day. But it's something that, at the very least, I know a better way. I know what I need to do to finally move past that. And I just hope, like, this pod today can help people. people see me making jokes, and people don't realize like all the shit I had to go through the past year to really get to the point where I actually found a fucking way to start making this happen. I've always had the idea of doing podcasts. I did it with my friend for a brief period of time, but like I said before, schedules, and I just don't think he really wanted to do it like that, and that's okay. But it just seemed like I had failure after failure, and then I escaped once whatever happened. And then coming out of that, the isolation, the loneliness, I just kind of said, fuck it. And I just found a way to start it. I have the most inept laptop to complete these tasks that I do, but somehow I have found a way. I have found a fucking way. I've gotten out of it. I've gone out of the darkest year and a half of my life. So that's why the perspective I have now is it's still dark, but it's for different reasons. Like, and I haven't had those desires to go do the things, to abuse myself, to go back to find the alcohol, to go back. I haven't had any of those desires. But I chase that desire to feel something other than what I'm feeling as well. But I know I'm at least doing what I need to do to get there. And I think I'm going to stop there. It's an hour, fucking 7 minutes of me talking about myself. And I hate people that talk about themselves. But here I am. To anyone that's struggling with things out there, reach out to people you care about. Be open about it. People are here for you, you know. If you're struggling with something, don't wait till it's too late. But yeah, go follow me on the IG, the TikTok. Please like and subscribe the vid, even though I haven't looked into the vid. Maybe you have YouTube Premium. You're just fine. Listen to audio, whatever. Find a podcast wherever you get podcasts. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever the fuck. Oh yeah, and suck some titties. That's probably doesn't fit the tone of today's video, but gotta fit it in. Sucking some titties. And hope you guys enjoy this depressing Friday pod. And yeah. Enjoy y'all's day. That took a left turn there, buddy. You took a U-turn on your personal life.